It's our Christmas episode today, Destry, episode 55. So we're going to be talking Christmas stuff today on the Deep Dives.
Cool. 55.
It looked like you were about to say something while I was doing the hook, and I was like, "Oh, cool, he's going to get in." I often thought sometimes we need you to do the hook.
The hook.
Yeah.
I can do the hook next time. I'll do the hook on 56.
All right.
Hey, we've got Christmas cookies. Chris brought his Santa tunic in, and it's a toboggan. We used to call it a toboggan in New Hampshire area.
There we go.
And
will this go over the
yes.
headphones?
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. That's really good.
There you go. Looking at the camera. Okay.
Oh, that's Christmas, and we have Christmas cookies, and I have a Cefco extra large drink.
Not a sponsor.
And Dr.
So
Pepper.
I've had an interesting couple of days, and I'll
traveling. You went down south.
Yeah. So we're recording on a Saturday because I don't exactly know what's going to be happening this coming week. It's the week before Christmas. I might be traveling again, going up north like I usually do to the in-laws. But no, I just got back from an engineering trip in Fort Myers. I do a lot of advising on litigation cases for structural damage and things like that. And so I was down there.
You to make it strong.
Right. Yeah. Or, when there's an argument between like the people who own a house and the people who insure a house as to like, was this damage really because of a hurricane or because you didn't take care of your house or something like that? Arguments like that I always get involved in as a quote unquote expert witness or subject matter expert. And so I was down there climbing over a bunch of roofs, taking part in like a discussion between adjusters about, how to come to an agreement on a certain building, that kind of stuff. And so I just got back last night, but it's funny, the plane ride back. So feel free to interrupt if you want me to, because this is kind of rambling. Okay. But the criteria was I can go down there, but I have to be back Friday night because
of your wife's bakery requirements,
right? And it was
delivery requirements.
Well, this one was a little bit different.
Okay,
because there's a local competition that happens around Christmas. A local business hosts this event called a gingerbread competition.
Oh yeah,
where you create a gingerbread. Not necessarily a gingerbread house, but a gingerbread creation. Okay. And my wife has competed in it before, and she's always busy around Christmas, and she decided I'm gonna buckle down. I'm gonna try to do it again this year. And so I was going to be needed to help her transport this huge gingerbread construction from the place where it's being fabricated to the place where it's being displayed. And so there was like, I had to be back. And so that was the criteria. And so
it's a gingerbread house, man.
Right.
I've got to deliver it.
And since, I have the ability to force other people to comply with that if they want me to go somewhere. That was the requirement. And so we get on a plane in Fort Myers, and we go. We're connecting in Charlotte, coming to Pensacola, and
just a small little airport, Charlotte, North Carolina. By the way,
yeah.
Good gosh, that thing is huge, man.
Right, and it's under construction, being expanded more.
Gosh.
But so we get to the airport in Fort Myers, and there's an announcement that the plane that they had requested was not the plane that showed up. And the plane that showed up has fewer seats than the plane that they requested. And so there was a lot of people that were going to have to get bumped. Fortunately, that wasn't us.
They knew they knew your gingerbread requirements.
Exactly, yeah. And I think because the account that was used to order our plane tickets was some sort of like platinum diamond so we're like the last ones to get bumped, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not trying to understand it. I'm just thankful for it.
Yes.
But as a result, that plane left late, and we already had a really short layover in Charlotte. And so, but they reassured everybody, like, even though the plane's, leaving late, we can crank up we can hit the gas and we can get there on time.
As a comedian, I remember saying, "Why don't we go that fast all the time?"
I know, right?
We can pick up speed.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
we'll just crank it up and get there faster than we would normally, and we'll make up that time in the air. And so we land maybe 2 or 3 minutes after the originally scheduled time to land. But then we're just sitting there on the tarmac and just sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. And eventually the pilot comes on like, we're in a little bit of a traffic jam. But I'll have more information. I'll give you more information when I find out. A couple minutes later, he comes back. There's a plane stuck on the tarmac. The towing bar that is used to move the plane around broke.
Oh, my gosh.
And so there's no way to move this plane. And they're trying to get a crew available to make that make that change real quick. And so we're sitting there, and we're looking at the clock and when our other plane is supposed to take off, and we're already going to have to like switch concourses and all that stuff. The pilot comes on and is like, well, we're trying to find out an alternate gate. So we're even we got switched to another concourse again. Eventually, by the time we get to the gate, our other plane has already taken off. Or so we thought, right? And so, but we had this idea like, well, hopefully, since that plane that stopped everything was stopping everything, hopefully it also just prevented our other plane from leaving. So we hoofed it. We just like all out speed to the other concourse, got to the gate within like we had already decided like it's done. We're staying here tonight. All this stuff, and that requirement though is I still need to be home by 8:30 Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And so I told the guy I was with, I'm like, if we do miss our plane, I will be renting a vehicle and driving to Charlotte. I mean, driving from Charlotte to Pensacola and getting home at night. And he's like, well, I'm going to be driving with you because, we're supposed to be back by tomorrow. So
right.
He was like trying to help me keep that as well. Super cool. But we decided, let's at least go to that other one. And sure enough, we got there and there's a minute left. But the funny thing is, in the middle of that, all that like freaking out about it, we're going to have to drive all this stuff. My wife texts me because she also has her normal stuff
right
for her business, like people ordering cakes and deadlines and all that stuff. And she had another one that was due to today as well. And she texted me. She's like, would you be mad if I didn't do the competition? Because I still haven't finished this cake, and I don't want to stay up all night again and do that one. And I'm like,
gosh.
in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. But at the same time, I'm like, I know she really wants to do this, and I know, I don't want to like encourage her not to do this because it's more convenient for me. So I just like, hey, whatever you decide, but if you could decide quick, because we're in the next 5 to 10 minutes, we're going to know for sure if we're either staying here tonight or if we're renting a vehicle to come back based on what your decision is. I'm like, now, there's absolutely no pressure, because if you decide to do it, I will be there at 8:30 in the morning, come hell or high water, because I've made that priority. But I want this to be your decision, and I don't want your decision to be affected by my circumstance. And but she's like, no, I think I'm not going to do it because I really need sleep, because she had already, had stayed up, to do this other stuff. And she's like, I'll just do it next time. I'm like,
cool.
All right, as long as that's your decision.
Not mine.
So the pressure was off, but we decided let's go to the other gate anyway. And we got there about 1 or 2 minutes before they decided to close the doors, got on the plane, got back to Pensacola last night late, but we got back last night anyway and didn't have to drive. But we landed, and we got a message on our apps like, your luggage isn't here, though. So it's being delivered as we speak.
Okay. All right.
Hopefully the right one. But yeah, so it was an interesting trip back.
Wow. 1 or 2 minutes. That sounds like you're cutting it close, but really that's a long time in airport departure and entry time.
Well, it's because that plane got delayed leaving for the same reason that our plane got delayed getting to the gate.
Right,
so
right.
It was ironic that way. But I always think about the people in the other plane, like they were trying to leave, and all of a sudden they get a message like a key structural component snapped.
No kidding.
Hold tight, we'll be in the air in a minute.
Plane broken.
Like, maybe we should go to a different plane, you know?
Man, oh man, no kidding. Does travel tire you out?
It can. If it's just me, not so much, because I can kind of roll with any punches and just kind of like have fun wherever I am, or whatever.
And you can sleep wherever you are.
Yeah, I can sleep wherever I am too. So like if it's just me, it's not really any big deal. If I'm with other people, sometimes it can be not so much the travel itself, but the
logistics of the travel.
The logistics of the travel. Getting all the luggage, getting there on time, getting the luggage all checked, going through TSA, all that kind of stuff. Right. That's usually the time where it's a little stressful. But I don't think I get like exhausted because of travel.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know.
Can you navigate through an airport pretty efficiently?
Oh yeah.
Man, good for you. Destry can't.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. The thing, everybody knows what the board looks like, the incoming and the out. And I haven't been on a plane in a long time, but the way it usually is you've got this board that's telling you everything that's coming in, departures and arrivals and all that, and every font is the exact same way. And they're right up next to each other.
Yeah.
My brain does not do well with that type of thing.
Right.
It does not do well with fonts that are exactly the same color right next to each other, because you actually have to look in detail. You got to pay attention in detail of what's going on. I recognize things in relation to each other and to relation to other things. And all I see, Josh, is a big board of numbers and letters that are flashing and changing instantly.
Right.
There's everything. I start paying attention to one thing and it's changing, and another it's changing. I'm lost in airports. I have to follow Donna like a like a dog on a leash, or whoever I'm with. I'll let them know, look, I'm not good at this, but I'll follow you wherever you go. I got your back. If you got
That's
my
the cool
front.
thing about all the airlines having their apps now. I think with the exception of like Silver or Spirit or something, but it just funnels all that information to you in real time, just about your flight. So
very
like
nice.
within seconds of a flight changing, we get a message on our app saying, "Here's your new gate. Here's your new seat. Here's your new boarding pass." Da da da.
So you're looking for gates. Again, everything has the same font, the same color, and everything else, except for some colors are different, I guess. Do you still follow like the green line, or is there a green?
Oh, I don't do anything with colors.
Of course
to me, it's just signs. Like I'll see the sign up top and it says, Concourse E, and a big arrow that points upwards. I'm like, I just know I need to walk that way until that arrow does this.
Gotcha. Okay. Break it down.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, they want you to get to the right places.
Right.
To the best of their ability, they've made it to.
I tend like my method of navigation is sign to sign. Like I don't care what's 5 signs down the road. I'm just getting to the next sign to see if that arrow direction has changed.
That's the way of doing it.
Journey of 1,000 miles in single steps.
Right. Don and I discovered that. I think I've told you this before, but I was diagnosed with a certain learning disability in my last year of college, and
that's a good time to find that
out.
Yeah, I know,
too. Right? It's like, why is it taking me so long to do these exams? Right. And they found out, and I have this learning disability, and so they started giving me as long as I needed, to finish the exams. That was the last semester. Would have been good to know.
Right.
It would have been great to know in grammar school, too, by the way. But anyway, I made it through somehow. And I totally graduated, and I just didn't pay that much attention to it because it was like a 1 or 2 day thing in my whole life during this very busy time. I graduated, didn't think much about it. And Don and I got married. Heck, this was a long time after I graduated.
Yeah.
And we take my niece's twin nieces and nephew to Disney, and we're driving from the hotel the morning after we got there to the front gate to go into Disney, and I keep missing the exits.
Right.
Like, why am I missing these? I know what it is. I have it right here. And, you know, she's paying attention to the kids and entertaining kids and everything. And again, I pass the exit. I look in the rearview mirror, and I read perfectly backwards what the sign says that we're driving away from that's facing the opposite direction. I looked at it, and that second I remember, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. And I looked at Donna, and she didn't know it.
Right.
I've never even mentioned it to her.
Yeah.
And I said, Donna, I've got something that I got to tell you that I've never told you before. And she discovered that morning that I have a certain amount of dyslexia.
Right.
I couldn't believe it just totally dawned on me whenever I looked, and I said, oh, yeah, exit so-and-so, so-and-so. I went, wait a minute, that's backwards. And I'm looking at the ones that's in front of me and going, it takes me, a couple of seconds to focus in on it. And then I realized everything, if you think about it in Disney, whenever you're driving, I guess it's on Disneyland, or on the property, every sign is the same color, the same font, the same size. Everything is the same, and that's where I don't do well. I don't operate well in situations like that, and that's exactly what it was.
So I need to just start calling you Eats Red instead of Destry.
I would understand. Eats Red, that's right. Yeah, there you go. Isn't that strange?
Yeah.
So I guess that's the only thing I can figure why those things. Donna sends me to the to Walmart. Get this for me, if you will. The spice. Okay, go there. Spices. Are you kidding me? There's 5,000 different spices, and they all look the same.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got to read all these little spices. I said, look, Donna, this is what my brain does not do well with. I'm gonna send you a picture. Okay, sends me a picture. So I hold the phone up in front of me, and I'm looking at the spices at the same time I'm looking at the picture, just kind of matching up what it looks like. For her to tell me it's this.
I think that's a common thing with husbands, though, because my wife does the same thing with me. Like,
is that right?
I need you to get this. Here's a picture of it.
It sure helps.
See, one of the things that I suffer from is maybe it's hyperfocus or what, but like if I'm looking for sour cream, for instance, I know what the sour cream container looks like. I know that it says sour cream on it. Mm-hmm. And so like those are the two details I look for. And I find the container shape, I find the word sour cream, pick it up, put it in the basket, and move on. It's not until I get home that I realize I've picked like fat-free sour cream, whatever.
2%, not 4%.
And she's like, how did you not see that it was sour cream? I'm like, I mean, that is fat-free. I'm like, because I found the two details that my brain had prioritized as important, you know?
Yeah.
And even though 2 millimeters down from sour cream, it said in big, bold letters, fat-free, for some reason, my brain just truncated everything below the word sour cream. And I don't know. That happens all the time. Like my brain is so like focused on one particular thing to like solve that thing that it tends to like block everything else that doesn't have to do with that thing out of existence.
So does that explanation help with your wife? Does she say, "Oh, okay, that's fine"?
Oh, it doesn't help at all.
Of course not.
Yeah, because she doesn't understand why my brain does that, and it's funny because we'll have the opposite conversation where she tries to explain why her brain does something, and it's always like, well, that's how my brain was built. That's how my personality is, and so I'll use the same thing. I'm like, but just like you say that about your thing, like this is how my brain is function. Like it's probably what makes me an engineer, you know, or this is like how my brain is wired. It's not necessarily something that I can like, I don't know, successfully counter 100%, but you know, our brains are built different.
Somebody should write a book about that. Brain, men and women, different brains. I should. Venus and Mars.
I'll tell you what's interesting.
What?
So, wow, this is really off topic. So, one of the courses I teach at local university, in the engineering department is a course about computer-aided design, specifically with a software called AutoCAD. And so this semester was different than the way I normally teach it, because I normally teach it to groups of students that are geared towards a career in construction, like future contractors and stuff. And so I've taught that from the perspective of how would a contractor need to use this software to do his job better. Well, this year I taught two of them side by side. One was that one for construction people, and one was for engineering people. And so the engineering went a little bit more in depth to like the difference between two-dimensional drawing. It's a drafting class, right, on computer. So like two-dimensional drawings versus three-dimensional modeling of solid objects. But then like how to take a solid object and make fabrication drawings out of it, so that you can take a 3D model, communicate the details of that 3D model to like a machinist who can create it out of a amorphous blob of aluminum or something. And but so what getting back to the part that was interesting, the difference between a lot of the girls' brains who were taking it and the guys' brains who were taking it, that was really interesting to me, because I found that there was a lot of struggle with translating between two-dimensional and three-dimensional drawings on the like the women who are taking it, the girls who are taking it. They struggled in that area, but sometimes the guys would struggle in communicating like how to make that 3D model to someone who didn't design that 3D model. So like directing the instructions on how to make this versus translating between 2 and 3 dimensions. Like it is really interesting, the comments I would get back or the struggles that they would have in different areas.
Very nice.
Yeah, really is really interesting.
I see that.
Yeah.
I wish I understood that more. I think all guys, we know that women, our spouses treat us are different. They receive.
I think we all know we're different. We just don't know how.
We know they receive and give information differently, but that's where it stops.
Right.
You know what I mean? We know
we don't understand the processing of each other's brains.
No.
How that information is processed. Yeah.
That's true. It would help us. I think if it would help me anyway.
Yeah.
If I could anticipate.
I don't know. Would it though?
Things
like
I would say.
Because I mean, part of the instructions we're given in Scripture is to know your wife, to know your husband. Like, if we went into marriage fully understanding everything about their psyche and how their brain works, or whatever, would it really make things better? Or, is the process of getting more and more intimate familiarity with your spouse's everything? Is that part of the? Is there something to be said about the pursuit?
It reminds me of sanctification.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. Just becoming more like Christ, or just understanding. It's becoming more like Him, understanding Him more. Mm-hmm. And trying to, because quite frankly, here recently, man, I have not been. Mm-hmm. I have not been under such sanctification lately. I have stopped my sanctification, it seems.
Right.
I have not become more like Christ in the past month or so.
Well, think about a verse that you've read for your whole life, and then all of a sudden one day it hits you different, or you learn something new about the context of that verse that you never realized before, and it I don't want to say a verse that has become boring, because that's horrible to say about Scripture, but something that you've become familiar with and it's kind of become put on the on that back shelf of resolved things, but then something new comes up about it, and you love that passage of Scripture more deeply and in a different way than you did previously. I think there's a similarity between that and growing deeper in how you know your spouse too, because you find more about them, and it deepens the way you love them, or it should rather.
Should.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's partly some of the magic, if you will, of Scripture, is how he communicates with us differently using the same Scripture. And I think anybody who's been a Christian for any length of time, maybe not brand new a Christian, but somebody who has done a study, and they've been around church people for a while, done churchy things, and know some churchy dialogue and those type of things. How you feeling? Blessed.
Right.
I'm blessed. How you doing? I'm just blessed. I'm not lucky. I'm blessed. That's why I am, Josh. Blessed. Blessed, 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 blessed.
God is good all the time.
All time.
All the time, God is good.
That's right. Sit down. Right?
Or
You're
the,
on the way to church.
I like the church the church vocabulary, the little sayings we say, like bow your hearts, or nobody looking around but us, and someone in the top with a telephoto lens who's taking pictures for social media.
With the 70 to 20 millimeter lens.
Or
click.
or stand to your feet. Like, what else would we be standing to? You know?
Stand to your elbows.
Right.
What? If you're able to stand, I like that one. That one's good. That one's caught on a little bit.
Right.
If you're able to stand,
Yeah.
that's good. Because I got plenty of friends that are in wheelchairs, and every time somebody says that, I'm looking at them and going, "Oh, hey,
Right.
What about me over here?"
Or like when they finish praying, they'll say, "And all the church said." And that's like everyone's like, "Amen." What do we do that for?
Anyway, I totally forgot what I was going to say, Josh. Because
Yeah,
we were
me
making
too.
fun of Christians. Here it was. Anybody who's been a Christian for more than a year knows that they've read the same thing over and over in one day, depending on what they're going through that day or that month or whatever. It speaks to them in a different way. And I just think that's possibly the way that God has created Scripture,
Right.
to be so pertinent. You think about how genius Scripture is, man. It was written so many years ago, and it's still so applicable to our day today and forever into the future. It doesn't say anything about cell phones. Doesn't say anything about stuff with technology, but the principles are the exact same. Nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
There's nothing new.
It's
under
fundamentals.
The sun. Man.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, and it's not unbelievable. It's very believable. One of the things that I love about it, and I've had to do this before, it's controversial with some people, but quite frankly, I don't really care. We've had
Controversy is the spice of life.
That's right. I've had grants, federal grants before for Pure Friendship, and had smaller grants, state grants, or even local grants. And I couldn't teach a Bible study under this grant. But what I could do is teach a class and call it something else and use every biblical principle under the sun.
Yeah.
But you just can't say it was. I could say a wise man, but I couldn't say. I could say a wise man said, or something like that. I couldn't say Christ said.
Right.
But I could use every bit of good stuff that's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And teach people these. Or I could, since we're in a church, I could say, okay, those of you who are interested in studying stuff about the Bible, we'll go over here to 102.
Right.
If you're not, you can stay over here. That's fine. We could do that.
Yeah.
Which I did both. But
one of my favorite things to talk about in different engineering courses I teach. So like in concrete that's exposed to salt environment, like in coastal structures, whatever, chloride will get into the concrete, corrode rebar.
Dang chloride.
Right. It'll get in there and corrode reinforcement and all that stuff. And you can mitigate that by putting some zinc like into the concrete and electrically bonding it to the rebar. The zinc.
9 out of 10 dentists say chloride is good for the teeth.
Fluoride.
Oh, see? I knew it was something different, Chris.
Chloride will whiten them, I would assume. I don't know.
Anyway.
But no, the zinc gives up its electrons more freely. It sacrifices itself so that the rebar can be saved.
Right on.
I love talking about
That's
stuff
cool.
like that.
Remind you of anybody?
Yeah. It's like, if you'd like to know more about this relationship.
Somebody I know.
Yeah.
Did that. That's good
Yeah.
stuff.
But, you mentioned about like something different about, or we were talking about something different about Scripture, like hitting you differently and giving you a renewed love for it. I think that's, right now we're like a week and a half before Christmas, and Christmas music is playing all the time, all over everywhere. And I'm not really a huge fan of Christmas music, and I think that's probably,
you say?
yeah, that's probably one of the reasons is because, like, well, for one thing, most Christmas music that's being played today has nothing to do with the actual significance of Christmas,
Right.
because that's become sort of a social faux pas to talk about anything related to Christ in the public square. But and so it's all just like Christmas tree, snow, jingle bells. And I always wonder what Christmas music is like in the Southern Hemisphere, because it's summer there, so it's not snow and white Christmas. What is their Christmas music like? But regardless, it's always the same thing. It's always, the show like "Gifts under the Christmas tree" and "I'll be home" and all this stuff. And there's nothing fresh, nothing new about it. But there are times when I'll come across a Christmas song that's new, or maybe not new, but it's different. It has deeper lyrics to it. It's something about Christ and how Christ was the resolution of this disparity between this gulf that was created between us and God, this gulf that we created by sin and all this. And those things, I love those. It kind of gives me a renewed interest in a music of Christmas, because it brings my mind back to sacred things, to my appreciation of this weird thing called salvation. So I oftentimes find myself enjoying Christmas music more when it's just quiet, I'm by myself, and I find something like that. And I just get to kind of sit and listen to the importance of those lyrics.
In Gun Club, 2 weeks ago, I opened up the class with a video.
Yes.
That it's just so engulfing. What was the guy's name?
Well, it's from the Gaithers.
It's from the Gaithers. Oh Holy Night.
Yeah.
My gosh.
The lyrics of that are just amazing too.
Oh, and whenever you hear somebody, Phillips, somebody Phillips,
right?
Whenever you hear it so clearly and so beautifully sung, it does. I get chill bumps just thinking about it.
Right.
And the last name's Phillips, or his first name is Philip or Michael or Bob,
it's a curly-haired guy,
Tom or Fred.
Yeah.
But that reminds me of what you're talking about.
Right.
I can listen to that song, that 3.5-minute song, and I'm not thinking of presents, or I'm not thinking of travel or going or anything. I'm thinking of Christ, Oh Holy Night, and just thinking about how he is, who he is, and what he's done for us.
Right.
That's what a Christmas song should be like. And to see this guy perform his breath, somebody like him, whenever he sings, to me it's like an athlete, because you can see him taking in those deep breaths, and whenever he's done, he's out of breath. The song is done, and he's like,
right.
I gave everything I had. It's so beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Phillips,
And
something Phillips.
And that song is another one of those songs where the lyrics are so meaningful and so deep, right?
Yes.
One of the things that's kind of a pet peeve of mine too is when there's a song with several verses, but we get accustomed to only singing like the first verse or the first and last verse or whatever, and we miss so much of the original meaning of the song because parts of it has been taken out. A good example, which isn't a Christmas song, is like the national anthem, Star Spangled Banner. Only sing the first verse. We don't get to the other ones. And it concludes with, conquer we must when our cause is just. This be our motto, and God is our trust. Things like that, where it like encapsulates the ideology of the entire song. And "Oh Holy Night," the second verse, that's not often sung. I like the way what the lyrics says. It says the King of Kings lay thus in lowly manger, in all our trials born to be our friend. He knows our need, to our weakness is no stranger. Behold your King, before him lowly bend. Like there's so much meaning there because it talks about the humility of his birth, even though this is God in the flesh, the King of Kings, right? The humility of his birth. It says he in all our trials, born to be our friend. Behold, he knows our need, and to our weakness is no stranger. Like he went through the things that we as human beings go through, and he did that. Like there was no reason that he needed to do that. He did that because he loved us. He went through that trial. He went through that suffering because ultimately the culmination of all that was to go through like the intense, infinite suffering of taking all mankind's sin on him, and knowing that it concludes, "Behold your King, before him lowly bend." There's just so much depth to that, and then it goes into truly he taught us to love. Truly he taught us to love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace. Chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease. You can't get better than that. Like that's just an exciting thing to read.
David Phelps.
Yeah.
It's under Gaither Vocal Band.
Right.
David Phelps. If you just Google "Oh Holy Night" Gaither, it comes up top thing, and it's a top hit, and you will not be disappointed. It's 4 or 5 minutes long.
Yeah, we played it twice.
Yeah, we did. We did, because you got in late and somebody else came in late.
Yeah.
And the people that had never heard it were so blown away by it.
It's funny because we're going through Revelations right now in Gun Club, and following that, I remember getting up and like, okay, we're going to go on a rabbit trail for a little bit and talk about something Christmas related, and we talked about Boaz and Ruth and the field of Boaz, and how the shepherds who got met with the angels were keeping watch over their flocks by night in the same fields where Ruth and Boaz met, and and looked at it on Google Earth and stuff as a lead into what we were talking about in Revelation. It actually kind of worked all together. I thought
it did,
but
it did. And the way you do our Bible study, for those that are listening, is Josh uses Google Earth a lot, and I've told you this before. To me, that really brings it home whenever you can say, we're talking about this, and this happened right here. And you go to Google Earth, literally go to Google Earth, and you zero in on, you can still see some of the remnants here. This is where this happened. You can see where the scorched earth was here, right? Or wherever. Yeah. That
you can see the rubble that was the remnants of this event that happened.
It's like being there just a little bit,
right?
Like being just a little bit, but I can. Everybody is always intrigued whenever you do that, and I think we need, like you keep saying, we need to get a new TV or a projector or something, because we have a 15, 20-year-old TV sitting there. That's probably at least 10 years old.
Yeah,
and it was outdated whenever I bought it. So we need to get another one in there to have more resolution.
Yeah, totally.
It's a great tool. It's a great tool. But.
So on the theme of Christmas,
Christmas.
let me pull this up.
Christmas.
So I have a list of questions. I think last week we talked about like what your normal Christmas traditions are if you decorate. But so if you could spend Christmas anywhere in the world, where would it be, and who would you bring along?
I would bring Donna along. We'd go to Israel, I think. I think we'd go to Israel and bring you along as the leader of the tours that we were taking.
Yeah.
And you would pedal us around in one of those, 3-railed bikes, and you'd point over here and say, "This is where Jesus was crucified, over here." And if you look over to the right, are you guys okay back there? You need some more cheese and wine or anything? You good? Over here is Golgotha. You've heard of it. I think that's
Okay.
Donna admires you. I know she likes you. She listens to the podcast, of course, because of you, not me. But that I think that would be good.
Yeah,
I think that would be good.
That would be fun. I'd enjoy that.
Yeah, we go. You probably have to bring your wife.
Except for the pedaling part.
Yeah, I'd pedal. I'd be glad to pedal.
You gave me a lot of credit there because over here you can see this archaeological site. I think it'd be like over here.
If there's some way I could pedal from behind, I would. I'd pedal us around.
Right, and that would happen a lot. Me coughing.
I think that's where we would go, and we would it would be timely. I don't know when we celebrate Christmas or when we actually think who was born on it. How about you? What would you do? Where would you go?
Well, I like your answer, but what first came to my mind? So I mentioned this for the past couple of years. I've been taking opportunity when we go up to New England to visit my in-laws. I found out that my distant ancestors were from that same area.
Yeah,
and I've been going. Just like I like to do with Google Earth, I've been going physically to these different places where my ancestors lived because there are still remains of what existed back then, 1600s,
That's
1700s.
Crazy.
Yeah,
in the remnants of a building that your grandfather used to make swords in, or something.
Right, because one of my the first generation of on my mother's side that came to America, they were blacksmiths, sword makers in England. They came over here. And
I'm glad you said Smiths. I thought they were blacksmiths. Okay.
Well, wouldn't surprise me. There's Native American and they got kicked out of New England by the British Crown. Went south. Ended up not liking the Civil War, and went east towards Colorado. And on the way there, they married into some Cherokee, and so I kind of have a pretty diverse ancestry on that side, which is kind of funny. But no, so they came over here, built the first forge in Massachusetts Bay Colony, Saugus, Massachusetts, which it's a historical site now, and they've recreated it. And there's I went to the actual buildings because parts of the buildings that they lived in and worked in still exist, and so I've had an opportunity to go there and walk these same grounds where they walked. Wow. It was really interesting. And then the next generation founded Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and there's streets named after them, and there's inscriptions on like the court building that shows, because they came down and built a forge there, and in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, that's where the Industrial Revolution is said to have begun, because a famous mill down there that became like an automated mill that wasn't powered by slaves. It was powered by diverting the Pawtucket River, which the people who owned that mill made an agreement with the people who owned that part of Pawtucket River, which was my family, and diverted some of it under the mill and powered it with wheels. And another member of my family was kind of like their engineer that helped them figure all that kind of stuff out. And so that, you can tell that's
Wow.
meaningful
No doubt
for
it
a couple of
is.
reasons. And I was able
Sure.
to go to that mill because it still exists, historical site. The little shack where my ancestor lived has
Wow.
been transported there and sits there. And so it's been really cool to do all that. And I was actually just having this conversation with my wife the other day. I'm like, I would really like to, the past 2 years, I've been doing that on my own because usually my wife and daughter and everything are doing other things. I told my wife, like, I'd really like to bring you to these sites now and show them to you.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they mean anything to you, but they mean something to me, and I'd like to share that with you.
All
and
right.
so I would like to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah.
I think that's so nice that you're doing that. How do you? What's your experience whenever you're walking these places? You're going into a remnants of a building that your ancestors made. What are you experiencing whenever that's happening?
Have you ever seen those photographs where someone will take like an old World War II picture, like an old black and white picture, and they'll go to the same spot where that
Yes.
picture was taken?
Spooky. Yes.
Yeah, and they'll take a picture today, and they'll like overlay the two to where like one of them is slightly transparent and like superimposes over what that scene looks like today. That's what's going on in my mind.
Okay.
Because the way time works in my mind, it's almost like it's a different location in the same spot. In other words, like right now where I'm standing, one of my ancestors is standing right next to me, and like
right.
the only difference between me being able to talk to that person is there's a span of time. But other than that, we're both standing here,
Wow.
and we're both doing something. And to me, that's kind of what goes through my mind. It's
Okay.
like it's a way of me kind of like being with my family on Christmas. Not that my wife and their family isn't my family, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
like it's kind of a way of me experiencing like I am where they are, and the only difference the only difference is there's years between us.
You should remember the first podcast machine that we had besides my phone? That you should take that and just record your voice in it of what you're thinking, what you're experiencing while you're walking through, and then take some pictures up on your iPhone and bring it home, and we could edit video. That would be really cool because with that audio, you can do more with it in post,
Right.
than just on the phone.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I want to do that on my dad's side too. There's some stuff like I've past couple of years I've kind of been concentrating on my mom's side. I'd like to do that on my dad's side though, but eventually, like once you get past like the mid 1800s, I'd have to go to Russia, and before that I have to go to Germany. So
okay.
it's been easier to go back on my mom's side
Yeah.
because I have all the way back to the 1600s before I have to leave the continent.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That'd be Colorado or in Texas area, right, with your dad?
No, my mom was New England,
Yeah.
then like the southern states, Tennessee, then they went over to Colorado. My dad is Germany, then Russia, then North and South Dakota,
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
and a lot of them are still in North and South Dakota.
Okay. 10-4. All right. What, you got another question?
Yes. Okay. So, is there a particular Christmas memory from your childhood that stands out as especially joyful or meaningful?
Yes, and it's total commercialism. It's just,
Okay.
just absolutely marketing and everything. As a kid, and let's see, I grew up in New Hampshire until the middle of third grade. Then we went to North Carolina, and not long after we went to North Carolina, I think maybe even the Christmas after we moved to North Carolina, we went back to New Hampshire to celebrate Christmas. And one of my brother's trucks, the whole back of it, he had a camper, the whole back of it was filled up with presents. And I just remember seeing and all the presents in the back of that truck, and we traveled however many hours back to New Hampshire, and it was snowing, and all the presents and everything, and my grandparents on my dad's side were there, and all of us were up there. I didn't realize the meaning of it back then.
Right.
I was excited because all the presents, and it stays in my mind because of all that. But an additional is that we were all back together after leaving the first Christmas, leaving my grandparents in New Hampshire. We all went back there and celebrated with them.
Isn't it interesting how a distant memory like that, like the reason that memory is important to you changes over time? Mm-hmm. Like when you were a kid,
same memory.
Yeah, like you said, there was a lot of presence.
Yeah.
But as an adult, you're looking back on it, the real significance of that was the people that were involved and how you were all together.
Yeah, well, looking at from my grandparents' point of view,
right?
Being the first winter away from the 3 grandkids, but yet they came back. That had to be huge for them.
Yeah,
just huge for them. So
yeah, that's one of the things, especially looking back into my genealogy and the history of my family. There's so many people I'd love to talk to if I had an opportunity to, like my dad's dad who passed away shortly before I was born. Like looking at old pictures of him and my grandmother, and he seems like a cool guy, and I love to talk to him. Or like, those ones who came over from Britain that were swordsmiths. Like it'd be so cool to let them, like, have them give me a tour of their forge. Yeah, because I've been to it, and I've been to the recreation of it, and how ingenuous the ingenuity of their process and stuff like that. Oh man, I bet y'all get along really well. It would be neat. So cool. A memory that other than the ones I've already shared, but from my childhood, I remember this one Christmas I was up in Colorado with my. We had gone up there to have Christmas with my grandparents. I was maybe like 8 years old, something like that, and the thing I wanted most for Christmas was a drill press. Which I know is weird, but
you hear that, Chris? But 8 years old, I really want a drill press,
right? But I had my parents were so cool because they had built me like this little a little area of our house that was like my workshop, because we had a kitchen and a dining room, and they had like stripped.
I'm afraid I would have bullied you if I knew you.
Oh, no doubt, yeah.
I want a drill press.
I remember.
I wanted a remote control Mustang.
I remember a friend of mine coming over for church after church one afternoon to play or whatever, and I'm almost ashamed to say this.
Every story.
Trying to figure out what we wanted to do for fun. I asked him, like, want to go build an electromagnet? He's like, no.
I want you to call my mom so I can go home.
But anyway, so we're at Christmas, and I wanted a drill press, right? Because
I don't know how to talk to you anymore.
Because I had a workshop at home, and there were projects I wanted to make, and I needed a drill press, and so that was what I wanted.
You knew what a project was at 8 years old. That just kills me. You probably had a list. Later on, I'm going to work on this.
Well, I'll tell you this. When I was 3, my dad, a friend of his in church, had him build me a little 3-year-old size workbench.
Is that right?
Yeah. And for my third birthday, I got an electric sander, and we'd go to the grocery store, and the grocery store we went to at the time had a little hardware section, and so it was common practice. They would just buy me some nails. I didn't know what I wasn't making anything. I would just go home and I would just pound all those nails into the surface of my workbench.
But you knew that you don't know what you're doing, but you knew that's what you wanted to do. That's so cool.
One of my first projects, though, was taking those nails and nailing with it around the perimeter of the paddle that was used.
Okay.
For disciplinary purposes, I nailed that thing to my work.
Did you really?
With about 50 nails.
I don't know why I did it.
It was a problem that needed a solution, and I figured one out.
My first solution to a problem that you didn't know I had. Right. That's good.
Well, anyway, so back at Christmas, 8 years old, drill press. There was a box under the tree, and my granddad knew what it was. It was a drill press. I didn't know that, and he did this experiment. He told me, he's like, Josh, before you open that, I want to give you an opportunity. I have a crisp $100 bill here.
My gosh.
You can either take this $100 bill, or you can have whatever's in that box. But you can't open that box first.
Was your grandfather Monty Hall?
No,
You know
but
who Monty Hall
yeah, oh
is?
yeah, but there's
Okay.
there's similarities there.
Okay.
But he passed away this past December.
Oh, sorry.
But so anyway, he put that offer there, and I remember sitting there playing the odds. Like, okay, that box is about the size of a drill press.
Oh, I see.
But it's about the size of a lot of things. But like,
Your reasoning.
if I want a drill press, the only option here that guarantees the drill press is that $100 bill. So I chose the $100 bill.
You did?
Yeah. And then my granddad, he's like, all right, cool. Here's your $100. And I'll take the box. And so he opened the box up, and it was a drill press.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I mean, I wasn't really disappointed because I had $100 to get the drill press anyway.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh, that's funny because that's what I wanted with the $100 is I wanted that drill press.
Here's your $100.
Right. So yeah, we switched back. He took the
Okay.
$100 and I got the drill press.
Wow.
And he later that day he took me down to his shop in his basement and helped me mount the chuck on it and all that stuff. And so it was cool.
Man.
I still have that drill press in my garage today. Use it
you?
all the time.
How about that? Wow.
I've had to replace the switch on it since, but
How
yeah.
cool is that? Really cool. All right. What's your next?
All right. So the next one is, do you have a favorite Christmas carol or song, and what makes it your favorite?
Christmas song. Vince Gill.
Mm-hmm.
It's a song about his brother.
Go Rest High on That Mountain.
Yes, my goodness gracious, what a great song.
Yeah.
It's about his brother who has died, who has passed away.
Yep.
He used to be able to sing really good.
I've listened to that so many
Oh,
times.
my
Vince Gill does an amazing job at that.
He is so everything he does.
Yeah.
Singing. Such a guitar player. My gosh, I don't want to say he's underrated because if you know Nashville, you know Vince Gill is a good guitar player.
Right.
But those outside that don't pay attention to that, you don't know how good he is.
Yeah.
You know, if you were just to listen to him, you would think, okay, he's singing somebody else's. There's no possible way somebody is singing and playing that guitar at the same time. It's
Right.
not happening. But he does it, man. He's got that old school with
Yeah.
a little bit of freshness, ability to walk up and down that neck like nobody else, man. It's so good.
Someone on Facebook the other day posted a question, it was a choice between two really famous Christian artists. Like who would you prefer, Amy Grant or I forget what the other one was, maybe Lauren Daigle or something like that. And who was like, a powerhouse of Christian music a generation ago, a powerhouse of Christian music today. And everyone was giving their answers, kind of 50-50 split or whatever. I said, Amy Grant because she comes with Vince Gill.
There you go. At least he'd drive her there.
Right, yeah.
And not have a
But
guitar
one of my
player.
favorite duets of all time is Vince Gill and Alison Krauss.
Oh, my goodness
Yeah.
gracious.
Chris agrees with me.
Yes. Well, I'm sure you have. There's a couple of, they were doing a duet in honor of somebody at the Grand Ole Opry. And it may have been Go Rest High on the Mountain. I think that's what it was. And he was choked up so much that he couldn't do it. And she
Yep.
took over
Yep.
for him during that time. Oh, man. You know that little background story. Whew,
Yes.
Man, it's so much better. The song is so much better.
Yeah, I didn't really even categorize that as a Christmas song, but it totally could be. Yeah,
It's on his Christmas CD.
Yeah.
It is. And the car that I bought recently has a CD player in it. So I have revisited. I've probably bought 20 CDs so far
Right.
since I've had that car because you can get them for $1.50.
Yeah.
Now. And
I'm gonna have to listen to that again today.
oh, so good. That's so good. But that is on his Christmas, one of the Christmas albums or
Yeah.
CDs that I have. It's that whole a Christmas CD that has to be one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Vince Gill Christmas CD.
Yep.
Listen to it at least once or twice.
Now
a
you're
year.
making me want to change my answer. I was
What
gonna
is your
say
answer?
like it for mine it changes all the time. Right now, and for the past couple of years, I've been in a phase where, getting back to the Gaithers, there's a song they sing called "The Glorious Impossible."
Okay.
I really like that one.
All right.
It's all about, the premise of even the title is like the impossibility of Christ's birth, but the gloriousness that it happened in spite of that.
Yes.
Yeah, the glorious impossible. It's a really neat analogy to think through.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I'd have to do number 2, what is David Phelps, "Oh Holy Night."
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, man.
Well, I remember when we first started Gun Club, and for devotions we would show like a music video. They would talk about it for a little bit. One of the ones you enjoyed the most was another David Phelps, where he was playing a Fender Stratocaster or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's right. That's right. Oh, my gosh. I don't remember what song. I have to go back and look.
It was a long time. We've been doing that for a long time.
We have been.
Yeah.
We still love doing that. Playing it just gets everybody in the mood.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just
music is cool like that.
It is.
It kind of transcends personalities.
Oh, man. Does it ever. It does.
All right. So last one. What does the true meaning of Christmas mean to you personally, and how do you try to reflect that in your celebrations?
Well, true meaning of Christmas is really the miracle of Jesus' birth to me. I know that's a Sunday school answer.
But it's also a true answer.
It's the only answer I can really come up with. It's the only and celebrating that through family. And family, by the way, before we even started,
if you can hear singing in the background, there's a birthday party going on right outside.
That's right, of a bunch of kids.
We're talking about Jesus' birth. All of a sudden, "Happy Birthday" comes on.
These kids really can't sing that well either, if you think about it. Happy birthday.
That's what makes it cute.
Before we started recording, we talked for an hour, just like we always do, and it was all cathartic for me because of some crazy stuff that's been going on. So it's been difficult for me to get into the Christmas mode this year. So when I said celebrate with family, that doesn't just mean people that I'm blood related to. It means the people that are important to me in the church.
Right.
Which you two are, and there's a handful of other people in this very large church. And I don't mean that necessarily in a bad way. This very
in
large
my mind, I'm
church.
thinking, there's a lot of people here that aren't important to me.
Right. That is what I said. It's not what I meant.
Right.
This church very intentionally, Marcus Point very intentionally makes small groups a priority.
Right.
So we don't get lost. We may not have a typical small group, but I tell you, the three of us in this room spend more time around each other than most people do in this church that do small groups. I've been in several small groups, and because of the way we serve, where we serve consistently, and we have been for going on years. Now you and I have been together for 10, 7, 8 years, something like that. I've been in this church for 12, going on 13 years, and started Gun Club, I think, 2 or 3 years after I started. And you came to the first Gun Club.
Right.
So we've been serving consistently that way. And it takes some prep, and it just takes time and effort and dedication. And we do that throughout the year.
Yeah.
We don't just do that during Christmas.
Right.
You know? So we are.
I think we've only taken one break in that entire time.
We have. It was one break whenever other classes usually break. We take a break, and I definitely needed it. I remember then I needed it bad.
Well, you took a break when you had heart surgery, but that's
It didn't feel like a break.
yeah. You didn't have a choice in that one.
It didn't feel like a break. So spending time with what we normally do, and maybe an added flair to it because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
Is the way I celebrate.
Cool. Yeah. Mine changes kind of every year, but I think one of the most consistent things is, usually Christmas for us is kind of like chaos. Yeah. Because of all the traveling, and we're doing something with this part of the family, then this part of the family, this part of family, and it's kind of like it's always drive here, be in a Christmas party, then drive here, be at a Christmas party, drive here, be at a Christmas party, and that kind of thing. And so I'm the kind of person where like I can be okay in crowds, but I don't prefer them. And after being around a lot of people, I just kind of want to, I don't know, like just be alone and quiet and just not have anything around me or whatever, or maybe only one or two like close people like my daughter or my wife or something like that, and just kind of like be there. But when it comes to, and that's not a Christmas thing, that's constant, that type of interaction between crowds and not wanting to be around crowds and stuff. But Christmas specifically, there at some point an opportunity presents itself to where I can just like be alone to think, and that's usually when like the Christmas feeling starts to come in.
Okay.
Because like I'll be surrounded by all that Christmas stuff, and there's like this little island of opportunity of kind of like peace and quiet to just kind of think about the significance of it, and not just that Jesus was born, and that the reason for it, but like all of the events that I appreciate so much, the historical nature of the Old Testament and how all of that stuff had to work together, and being able to like look at Google Earth and look at those sites and look at how empires like rose and fell in a way that was so precisely focused on the coming of the Messiah. Like that stuff is so significant to me, and I'm so appreciative that happened, and that Christ came and was born specifically so that he could suffer and die and take the penalty for our sins, and that he eventually rose again. And usually around Christmas, I end up at some point somewhere in a room by myself, and I just like to kind of sit and not think about anything else but that. And that's
cool.
Yeah, that's kind of like, and every so often, it might not just be me, but like I remember this one Christmas, everybody had already fallen asleep. This might have been like the night of Christmas or whatever, but everyone had already gone to bed, and I was just kind of downstairs in a chair by myself doing this. And my daughter, she may have been like 5 years old or whatever. She came down, climbed up the chair, cool. laid down with me, ended up falling asleep, and it was just like I'm there. My daughter's sleeping next to me, and I'm just thinking about this, and that was really meaningful.
That's contentment right there.
Yeah.
The feeling
that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily have to be I have to be alone, but just like a time of quiet where I'm just thinking.
You want to be able to at least think. Right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good answer. Good answer. All right.
So there we go.
Any other questions about Christmas or anything else?
That was it.
Right,
I think that makes a Christmas episode if we look at it from our technical specifications.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Which we do. And have been since we're 8 years old.
Right, exactly.
One explanation, if I look a little breathy as far as focus goes, it's because you're drunk. It's because we had to.
Oh yeah, that was one question I wanted to ask. Not drunk, but it made me think of it. Are you an eggnog guy or an apple cider guy or a hot chocolate guy or what?
Hot chocolate and eggnog. I like to do one eggnog. I'm a sweet guy. We got a daggone thing of cookies right there.
I know. I've been resisting. I'm going to take one though.
I'm a sweet guy. I have a sweet tooth, big time. Got it from my mother. But eggnog's too sweet for me.
Really?
Yeah, it is. It's too something. It's too eggy. I don't know what it is.
But
I like to sip on it.
There are some brands of eggnog that are too sweet for me. Mm-hmm. I like it not too sweet, but I like it thick. Mm-hmm. My favorite eggnog is Publix brand eggnog.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I love that stuff.
I got to admit, I haven't had a lot of different eggnogs. I've just had a couple, so maybe I'm just drinking the wrong eggnog.
Yeah.
Publix brand.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's one point of contention I have with my in-laws is they get some nasty
Raunchy
eggnog from their local grocery store, and it's thin, it's too sweet, and I never like it. I drink it just because I want some of the eggnog feeling, but I never enjoy it.
Eggnog feeling.
And they know that. I've told them that before.
Your eggnog stinks.
Yeah.
But I'll drink it.
Yeah.
For you.
Right.
We had to switch cameras. That's why it might be blurring on and off. It's probably going to focus on
one of the cameras was missing when we got here this morning.
Right. One of the cameras missing. So luckily.
They put the good one on me, as usual.
That's right.
Yeah.
Needed all the help we can get. All right. Hey, Chris, Merry Christmas. Josh, Merry Christmas.
Same.
We will probably record in another maybe 2 weeks. I mean, we might record another week.
Yeah, it just depends on travel
Right.
arrangements. We might be recording this week again, but we wanted to at least make sure we had a Christmas episode locked and loaded.
Right on. Very good. Thanks a lot, Chris and Josh. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. See y'all later.
See ya.